My name is Paul Wallen, and I'm glad to see you learning some lessons on sound synthesis today. So, welcome to the first video lesson. And today, I want to show you some great sound effect. And I think that this sound effect is the most popular and usable today in soundtracks for movies, in sound design, and even in electronic dance music of all the genres. You may hear it everywhere. And of course, you can use it everywhere you want. And what it is, it's that deep sub bass texture, ambient texture, that booming bass which you hear in movies, which gives you that feeling inside of your chest. It's like you feel it inside of your whole body when you watch the movie in a movie theater. So that is a very low sub bass, uh, booming ambient texture. So yeah, we will be working with Harmor today. And why Harmor? The reason is what I want to show you that popular sound effect. You can amazingly easy make it in Harmor using basically just two or three sections of it and a few modulations in articulation window. By the way, it's that big blue window right here. This is called articulation window. And the thing that I want from you guys is basic understanding to understand some parameters and what they do. Let us synthesize this. Here's some demo for you of how it sounds. Yeah, I guess you can remember this from somewhere. And just because it is so bassy, low bass, low sub bass effect, I'm also gonna make a little bonus for you today, and I will show you how to make the sub bass boom drop like this. No, like this. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. It also is a pretty easy to make, so shouldn't take a lot of time from us. By the way, I think that this boom drop effect is even more popular in cinematic soundtracks than our sub bass booming texture. I guess it's one of the basic sound effects in sound design and sound effects. So anyway, let's get down to business. Let's start with booming ambient texture. And we're gonna go to default preset. And what do we do to make it very low? Uh, right, lower the pitch level. And for that, we go to the pitch section right there and dividing our pitch by maximum. So how to divide our pitch, our frequency. So you can see there's a line in that matrix that called frequency. So uh, this is divider right there in the yellow, and we're gonna go to the maximum number. Number is 9. So we are dividing by 9 our standard frequency. And how does it work? So it's working like this. Dividing by 1 gives us just standard, our standard timbre uh, pitch level. And dividing by 2, we go higher, dividing by 2, octave lower. To get 2 octaves lower from our basic pitch tone, we should divide by 4, I think. Yeah. And to get 3 octaves lower from our basic pitch tone, we are dividing by 8. So you know how that works right now. So first octave 2, second octave 4, third octave 8. So the lower you go, the bigger number you use to divide it. And we go a little bit lower by 9. I don't know why 9, just this way. Just it works this way. So it's pretty low and should be enough. Then we do the same with a detune line here in the matrix. And we're dividing by 9. And what do we get? We get our additive harmonics. We have a saw wave, right? In Harmor, saw wave is a composition of, I think, 516 sine waves. So here it goes. There are 516 so waves, so harmonics, 516 harmonics in that spectrum. And if we divide our detune by 2, we get all additional harmonics closer to our basic one sine wave. So uh, this is first sine wave. This is our basic sine wave. That is called fundamental tone, fundamental sine wave. So we are getting closer. Those all 515 harmonics, 515 sine waves, closer to our fundamental tone, fundamental sine wave, by dividing detune. So you can see it getting closer. So we guys, I'm gathering here, right? So now you can see that they are very close to each other, and we are moving on. So for our ambient, for our low ambient texture to be the spacious ambient texture, we need to widen it or expand it in terms of sound. So for that, we need to add some more voices to it. As you may already realize, we need to use the unison section right now, and we need to use it pretty much and pretty hard. So all 9 voices active, and all the faders, all 3 faders to the top. And later, we can pick our type of unison distribution by ear. So uh, by default, it's blurred. Wait, I'll leave it this way for now. So now it sounds very quirky, something like white noise or a brown one. So in that sub bass booming, we've heard only those harmonics which are pretty low, which are very low. Apparently, apparently we need to cut the rest of them out of our spectrum here. You can do it many ways in Harmor. So you can do it by filter, or filter out some harmonics, and you can do it by harmonic level right here, or you can do it in local EQ articulation window. So there are 3 ways to do it, and any way that works for you is just fine, as long as it works. And to make it with a filter is a very simple, and you do it just like this. Just cut, set the frequency cut off like this, and set the width of a cutoff region like very narrow, and you get it. Pretty booming already. So we get it. But let's widen your harmonic understanding and do it in harmonic level articulation window right here. And why are we here right now? Relax, it's just for your benefit. And to form a good habit, you need to learn to operate on more deeper and fundamental level. To leave more operations and modulations free for you to use in advance. Right now, it's not gonna help you very much operating in that articulation window instead of filter. But I want you to know it anyway. It's going to help you out a lot of times in the future, believe me. So, what do we do here? We need to leave out particular area in our harmonic spectrum. So this is harmonical spectrum right here. All the harmonics that sounded in a so wave, all the sine waves that we've heard. So uh, default your filter. So frequency cut off to the top, width back to middle, and we get all 516 sine waves and harmonics back again, but very, very close to each other. So here they are in that spectrum. You can clearly see it. And what are we gonna do right now? We wanna leave out some particular area in the harmonic spectrum for only one area to be active. And this area, I think, this big, precisely. More or less like that. Yeah. And don't forget to leave some smoothing here. Don't just cut off like this. We don't need it. Yeah, we can do this, but that won't be sounding good in advance. So leave some smoothing, some smooth threshold, some smooth cutoff. That's good. That's even better. I think I I'm gonna leave it this way. So in my case, this is harmonic 40, if you want to be precise, and the minimum of a smoothing. So this is very smooth. This is not so smooth. It's a smooth cutoff anyway. So far so good, right? And remember to set it by ear from now. And don't forget to set your parameters by ear right now at this point, because that sound effect already sounds very much similar to the original one that we've heard in the beginning. And I think the last touch for this to sound acceptable for us, professionals or half professionals, and of course for those who want to be professionals. So the last touch is to add resonance somewhere in this area, to add the resonance. If you don't know how to do it, watch me doing it. How do we do a resonance? We go to filter, and now we need to cut off some frequency, and this way to add some resonance in that threshold. Uh, Resonance all the way up. You can see it right now. Width of resonance. Set it pretty narrow. Not that narrow. And don't forget to control it with an offset knob, because you want to catch it and set it where you want it to sound, where you want it to be. I want it here very badly. And you can check it with resonance and without the resonance. Don't forget to check every time you make a change. It's a pretty good habit to have. And now at that point you can play with an oscillator knob. What it does, it allows for resonance to create its own oscillator, so its own tone, its own timbre, I guess. And you can see it moving around when you mess with an offset knob, or with a frequency knob, and with a width knob. Yeah. And don't forget that this is not going to be tracking your keyboard. So you hitting all the different notes, and that oscillator stays the same tone every single time. So for this to track your keyboard, activate your keyboard tracking in a filter 1 to the amount of 100%. 100%. So now you have to set all the parameters uh, from the beginning, from the start. And to catch your resonance level. Yeah, like this. Now you can see it tracking your keyboard and tracking your hitting notes. So this is it. This is your resonance. And now we're gonna go into the details. And that's the sweetest part of synthesis, because the truth is in the details. One great person said that, and it's great. Now we want to put our timbre on sound effect inside an envelope, and I mean a volume envelope. So what I use a smooth and short attack for this. So don't forget to activate this volume envelope inside an articulation window. And what I do, I use a very smooth attack, and very long and smooth a release for this. So oscillator is going too much. I don't want this. Yeah, great. And don't forget to set sustain parameter, because you want to sound your sound effect as long as you hold the note on a higher level in terms of amplitude. So this is great. So far so good, I guess. And now, even more details. To add more coldness and emptiness in that sound effect and a little bit more of resonance, you can turn all the way the prism knob all the way to the top and hear the result. Not much difference, but what I see and what I hear is a more coldness, more threatening ambience. So what is doing? The prism knob, I think I can describe it this way. So we remember our harmonic spectrum, right? And this is it, our harmonic spectrum. And what the prism does is clearly represented at that picture, at that image. It gives, prism gives each individual harmonic, each individual sine wave its own pitch level depending on that graph here. So this is your harmonic spectrum right here, and here harmonic 1, here harmonic 2, harmonic 3, and the more farther you go, the harmonics going to get very close to each other. So you can see that change quickly and very clearly. I think in our area we have something like 3 sine waves. I guess those are sine waves, right? Right. Pretty much the same. So 3 sine waves in our spectrum right here, because others are cut out, like here. You see the blackness here. So there is no prism shiftness in other harmonics. So I guess that's clear enough right now. Some of the harmonics are shifted very high in pitch, some of them very low in pitch. Depends on a prism amount, of course. And I think I leave it this way, all the way to the top to plus 100%. You can go to the minus and you will get an inverse effect of this. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And you can add pitch vibrations to this. Very little and very subtle, because you can't hear much difference, but it's there. I can hear some shivering right now. Some tremolo in the pitch tone. So that's cool. And you can play with a harmonic blur right now. You can add some harmonics to the top, but but why do we do this if we can make it here? So to free out some more harmonics from our spectrum. So you can apply it here, you can apply it by harmonics, by harmonic blur. It's not much difference, but all those knobs, all those details, all those magic functions had been put in here for a reason, for your benefit, okay? To get your result pretty fast. So you can use it here, you can use it there. Not much difference, I guess. So you can play with it as long as you want. And set all the parameters by ear from now. And now it's time to use different Unison types. Even play with all those faders. In the Hertz Unison type, I think it's extreme. Yeah, right. I think I leave it this way. Bass doesn't make much difference. And now we can clearly see that our desired timbre is done. Our basic timbre is done. And notice I haven't touched on anything in FX section in Harmor or outside of Harmor in my DAW. Yeah, there is a pretty good reason for this. Here comes one more great advice from people that are more experienced than me. Don't use them when you tweak your basic timbre, uh, your your core sound. Leave them for very late. It must be the last part in synthesis process. And instead, what you can do in Harmor, here's some little tip for you. So there is an FX fader. It mixes in and out a signal that goes through FX section. So you can turn all the FX off by this fader. So move it very high and you can't hear any changes here. Yeah. So what you can do when you synthesize your sound, when you're creating your sound and you want to use effects, so make some basic settings. Make some basic settings inside an FX section that you think that will be suitable for your sound, that will be acceptable for your sound, and turn it off and on all the time. So you want to leave it off, of course, and sometimes you can hear it with an effects, just to stay on your path with effects. So great advice from great people. Keep it and use it. And of course, we're done with our basic timbre. And we're gonna go to effects and make some distortion, reverb, and compression. I'm alright with this because I know what I do right now. So I use a log type of distortion. It's pretty unique. So set very small amount of distortion and uh, much higher weight signal. You want much more resonance inside, and you don't wanna much distortion. You don't want to much noise in it, like this. You don't want it. So pretty low distortion amount and pretty high, but not very much weight signal. Distortion, weight signal. So filter cutoff somewhere in the area of 8,000 hertz. Great. I think that will do. And reverb. Reverb, set the filter area like this. You want the tail of your sound, of that ambience to last longer. And we need to choose the right area for this. Like from 20 hertz to 300 hertz, I guess. And a pretty big parameter of size, like 100%, I guess. So even 100% is good because this is space right here, and we want that to be big. And damping, you don't need it very much, so leave it this way, somewhere in here. And decay, so this is your tail. How long the reverb should sound. I set it pretty low. So that's great. And the last touch in effects is a compression. And I want to use it not too extreme, but very hard. So hitting is a great compression type. And I want to tame my booming a little bit. So you should lower it, I guess, because that's pretty extreme and pretty booming. You don't want this too much. So those parameters are great. And I guess I should lower the weight signal of distortion a little bit. That's just great. I think it's done completely for now. I think this is one awesome sound effect, and it's very usable and very popular. So use it everywhere you want. So you are free to make some changes in it. You're free to add some layers. So maybe copy part A and paste it in part B, and to uh, and to add some different area in your spectrum. Yeah, that's pretty threatening and pretty spacious. So you're free to experiment. You're free to so you are free to experiment. You are free to improvise uh, at that point. And as I've said, I will show you how to make a booming drop down, some boom bass drop down effect, like where it is. Yeah. And I don't want to go to default and make it from scratch. I just show you some parameters of it, and you will get it very quickly because there aren't a lot of modulations active inside of an articulation window. And some volume articulation for part A. The, there are two parts. Yeah, they're not complex, but some articulations are complex, like pitch. So let's start with the red zone. What you see in it is a yeah, harmonic blur active. I set it just by ear to add some color to it. Let's hear only part A. So part A is a kick and some tail, some booming tail resonating. And it resonates because of prism, just because of prism, right here. And part B, just that booming sub bass tail, lowering constantly. And let's start with the part A. So prism amount to the middle, I think it's 60%. Unison, all 9 voices, and those parameters are. You can use every type you want. I just feel great with classic. So you can see that I lowered the pitch in the global part right there. You can do it here, or you can do it just like this. So you don't want to do some changes here. You just go to frequency divider and set it just like this. So number 4. There is no difference. Yeah, and again, we want our harmonics as close to the our fundamental sine waves as we can possibly be. Yeah, and how do you make a kick? Some of you may know that kick is a pitch change, is a pitch modulation. So there is just sharp attack and a long tail in the bass region. So here is all the pitch spectrum. So 5 octaves high and 5 octaves low, plus 5 octaves and minus 5 octaves. And that's your kick sharpness, I guess. And you can draw it out from here. Just notice that tempo is not active. So make your drawing, make your graph relatively, so make your graph relatively similar to mine. Something like this. I guess we don't need this, just like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4 points. And that should be enough. There is no filtering. There are just harmonical blur, prism, unison, and some pitch changes. And yeah, volume envelope, like that. Just to shut off the tail. Yeah, like this. And timbre 1 harmonical level. I chose to go with a harmonic number 21. And that's and this is the last one, and the ramp like this in my harmonic spectrum. So this should be your graph like this. From 1, full view is like that. From 1 to the 21st. And yes, there is harmonical unison pitch. active as well, but you can go without it. What it does, it tells what is the amount of pitch thickness, a unison pitch thickness for each individual harmonic. So for our each individual sine wave, there is a graph that represents the harmonic unison pitch thickness. So for my first harmonic, I don't have any pitch thickness. And for the rest of them, there is a ramp like this, and just 50% of that amount is active for the rest of my harmonics in my harmonic spectrum. So this is it. So there is nothing else hidden inside. And it's time for part B. And you can clearly see that there is no modulations except pitch and timbre 1. So timbre 1 is just one sine wave, just one single sine wave in the beginning of the spectrum. So our basic tone, just that. And a pitch modulation. So just like this. There is no signal, so very, very low tone that you can't hear. And two ramps. I make two ramps because I want the end of the tail to ramp like this. Yeah, and you hear that amplitude shifting, actually that phase shifting. So you can choose, it depends on phase fader in unison section. You can hear the difference. I'm alright with this. No. Where is it? Yeah, that's cool. So, blurred, it's by default, and we divide by 2 our frequency. So octave lower. So remember, relatively similar to mine, tempo is off. There is no volume modulation, volume envelope. So this is it. Affixes, yeah, affixes. In a part A, they're active 100%. In the part B, they just active 30%, I guess. Yeah. And which effects we will get to them. So you can see a filter active also, but you don't need it because it's just one harmonic. You don't need any filter. Maybe I was messing with it a little bit. Yeah, that's great. And let's go to the effects section. So there is no resampling. You can see it clearly, and effects. So pretty much the same as with a booming texture, booming ambient texture. So log type of distortion, very low level of distortion amount, and wet signal like 60%, I guess. Reverb, pretty much the same. You can apply the same parameters from our booming texture. And compression more extreme, like burning. I turn down the low and high band of compression and get the middle very high. By the way, you can see chorus is active and has 5 voices. All those parameters have been set by ear. And you can go without it, of course. There is not much difference. Maybe just for a kick to sound more big and spacious. So yeah, it's all it is. Use it, apply it, change it, and do whatever you like with it. So that's all for today, and I think those two effects are great and just very, very, very popular. Again, there are the basics of all sound effects in cinematic music, in soundtracks, in sound design, and even in electronic dance music. You can hear it absolutely everywhere. So use it, change it, apply it, modify it, improve it, experiment with it, improvise. Always improvise. And don't forget to subscribe to always stay in tune and to make a synthesizer sound your way. Always remember, from your head to your ears. Our goal is to make the sound that we already made up, that we want to sound in our output system, in our ears. So that's it for now, and I will see you in future lessons. Bye.